Prabhupada ki.
Jai Ho. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sanyavari Paschatya Satarine Panchakalpa Tarubhascha Kabharshindavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachadam Mangolangaite Girinyakhapatamaham Vande Siguru Dinatarinam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gauranga Nityananda. So I want to start with a question. Can anyone give me a verse or a purport where it describes that there are advanced devotees that don't like to chant Hare Krishna? There are advanced devotees that don't have a taste for chanting. Anyone have a verse? Purport? Shloka? Nobody? Why is that? Because there isn't one. Because the sign of advancement is that we like to chant. Yes? So, I'm getting to a point here where if any of you have difficulty, especially with Japa, any of you have difficulty, like with Japa, like when you're chanting, you'd rather be doing something else. You're not really into chanting. Not a good sign. Then let me explain why. Because as a devotee becomes purified, then he becomes attracted to everything Krishna. Everything about Krishna becomes attractive, right? The name, attracted to Bhagavatam, hearing, to chanting, not just serving, not just eating prasadam, not just sangha, but it becomes attracted to everything. So some devotees say, I like kirtan, I don't like japa. I like prasadam, I don't like japa. I like class, I don't like japa. You'll never hear a pure devotee say that. Could you imagine? Prabhupada would say, I like kachoris, but I don't like japa. If he said that, you'd think, I know, I must have heard that wrong, right? It's not possible they would say that. So, I know some devotees say that, don't they? I like this, I like that, I just don't like japa. So the thing you don't like, japa, what is japa? Japa is the soft chanting of the holy name. I like Krishna, I just don't like to chant his name softly. Does that make sense? No. Yeah. But many of us say that. So if you've ever said it or you feel that way, you should understand it's a problem. That something is wrong. If you're advancing, progressively advancing, one of the signs will be you like to chant. You want to chant more. When it's time for japa, you don't think, oh no, I wish I didn't have to do this. I wish Prabhupada would have given us 4 rounds. Any of you ever think like that? Why 16? Why not 4? You ever think like that? 16 is too much? And Prabhupada said 16 is like simple, easy, nothing. Anybody can do it. He said that many times. And sometimes we're thinking, so hard, so difficult. What does that mean? It's not a good sign. I don't like to chant Japa. If Krishna were sitting in front of you, would you tell him, I like your pakors, but I don't like your Japa? Would you say that to him? Would you feel embarrassed? Awkward? Strange? You wouldn't say that. Even if you felt that, you wouldn't say that. Why wouldn't you say that? Because it's his name. And you would understand that's offensive to him to say, I don't like saying your name. I only like singing it with instruments. I don't like your name. Would you ever tell Krishna, I don't like your name? I hope not. But sometimes we're actually saying that. Have you ever said, I have to chant? Raise your hand if you ever said, I have rounds to finish. You're all supposed to raise your hand because you've all said that. Yeah. All right. What does it mean when you have to do something? What does that mean? Means you don't want to, right? You ever say, I have to go to work? How many do you say, I have to go to work, or I get to go to work? Usually it's I have to, unless you really like your job. If you don't like your job, it's always I have to. If you love your job, then it's I'm going to work, I love it, I get to go. All right. If you have a relationship with somebody, and they say, would you like to do something with me? And you say, well, usually say this to your wife or husband. Can you come with me to do this if I have to? You ever said that to your wife? Tyaga Chaitanya? If I have to. Something you don't want to do, or you have something else to do, you really don't want to go. Can you come with me if I have to? Which is a nice way of saying, I don't want to, but if you really want me to, I'll do it. Right? Now, if you've been married a long time, you're probably smart enough not to say that, even if you feel that way. Because it's negative, right? If I have to. Every time you say, I have to chant, or I have to finish my rounds, what have you just told Krishna? I don't like your name. I don't like to chant. I do it because I have to. You ever wonder why you don't have a taste for chanting? If your relationship with the name is, I have to, how would you ever have a taste? I do it because I have to. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't. It's like being married for 50 years and you never liked your wife or husband the day you got married, and yet you have to stay together. So, I find it interesting. Devotees wonder, why don't I have a taste for chanting? I say, well, look at your relationship. You don't even want to do it. You're telling Krishna, I have to, I don't like to, I wish I could chant less. I'll do it later. I'll do it tonight. Tonight comes, I'll do it tomorrow. So you're dealing with someone saying, I have to be with you, which is a way of saying, I don't want to be with you. How do you think you're going to develop a taste? Right? Now, don't you think it's weird to say, through the holy name, I have to chant, when it's that holy name that is the most important thing in your spiritual life? Don't you think that's weird? I mean, it's a paradox, isn't it? Hare Krishna. Do you have these candies where they're hard candies, where inside there's like chocolate syrup or cherry syrup, and outside there's something? Yeah. The holy name is like that candy, except outside it's not so sweet. You have to suck it, suck it, suck it. And then it gets sweeter, and you suck it more, and you get to the middle, and then there's the cherry syrup, or the chocolate syrup, or the cherry chocolate syrup. It's in the middle. And unfortunately, a lot of us are sucking the outside of the shell. We haven't got very deep into the sweet part, because it takes some effort to get in the sweet part. And if you want to do something with love and devotion and affection, and you don't like doing it, it's not going to happen. And then you might say, well, why does Krishna make it difficult? He should make it easy, right? He should just give us the nectar, right? Why does he make it so difficult? Because he wants us to become qualified to taste it. He wants us to work for it. He wants us to hanker for it. And if we don't have some eagerness for it, we don't get it. And then all we get is kind of like an imitation of the holy name, like a reflection. So we know that Krishna is his name, and if that's true, then theoretically we could say it would be impossible not to be attracted to the holy name, because the holy name is Krishna, right? Like, how could I not be attracted? Krishna is all attractive. So in theory, on paper, it would be impossible for anyone not to like to chant. So how is it that, especially in the beginning, you give someone beads, you ask them to chant, in 5 minutes they're staring around the room bored, looking for you to give the beads back. Isn't it? Like a brand new person, 5 minutes, and then you meet some new person, they're like, yeah, I'm trying to chant 1 round a day. You're trying to chant 1 round a day. That sounds like it's torture. Like, just to sit down and chant 1 round is like torture. If it's Krishna, how could it be that way? Because we're not experiencing it as Krishna. If we're experiencing it as Krishna, it would never be that way. It would be only nectar, only swimming in the ocean of nectar, right? So the candy's there, the center syrup is there, but you have to work for it. You have to become qualified. I don't know. No. I just got a quote sent to me today from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it was about mechanically chanting. And what is meant by mechanical chanting is chanting the holy name as if it's not Krishna. It's just a process. Have you ever done that? Chant it as like I have my rounds to chant. What are your rounds? Oh, it's that one. It's 108 times 16. That's what it is. It's not Krishna. It's not a relation to Krishna. No, it's 108 times 16. That's what it is. That's called mechanical chanting. There's a class of Brahmins, you may have heard, they're called Smarta. Have you heard of Smarta Brahman? Smarta Brahman is one who is very strict about rituals. They believe that if you execute rituals perfectly, then you've perfected a process. It's not a question of consciousness. It's not a question of devotion. It's only a question of perfect execution of the ritual. It's not about a relationship, personal relationship with Krishna. Some of us have that tendency to think that if I execute the ritual perfectly, I'm successful. So then we chant. We chant. We sit straight. We face east, or we face our altar. We get up early in the morning. Hare Krishna, and do 16 rounds. And we think if I do 16 rounds like that, bing! Someday the lights will be turned on in my head and heart. I will see Krishna and I will have love of Krishna. That's called mechanical chanting. I'm not conscious that I'm chanting Krishna's name. I'm not conscious that I'm connecting with Krishna. I'm only conscious of how many counter beads I pulled down. Yeah. I'm doing good. Today I did almost 17. I'm ahead of the game. I'm doing good. 17 is good, right? 17 bad rounds is not good. 17 mechanical rounds is not good. But I did 17 and I think 17 is good. Doesn't matter how I did them. I did 17. I said the maha-mantra 108 times 17. I'm doing good. According to the acharyas, not necessarily. Because you may have only been connected externally. And what I mean connected externally is that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, you're chanting the maha-mantra, you're making the sound. It sounds like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Hare. It sounds like that, but it's not Krishna. It's a material sound. Because the heart or consciousness is not there. And so, if I'm chanting a reflection, or sometimes it's called a reflection of the name or a shadow of the name. If I'm chanting a shadow of the name, because it's a shadow, there's no substance, and naturally I won't experience anything. Just like if I have a basket of pakoras, and we take the projector out and I project them on the wall, and I say, go to the wall and get your pakora. Is that going to work for you? Pakora's on the wall. Yeah. Well, there is japa, which is like a reflection, like a pakora on the wall. So what happens when you eat that pakora? Nothing. What happens when you chant that reflection? Nothing. So, we don't, if we're only mechanical or ritualistically chanting, we won't get the taste because Krishna's not actually there. And if we chant properly, Krishna will be there and we'll get the taste. Now, if you want to be initiated in our movement, you need to chant 16 rounds every day. What percentage of initiates do you think chant 16 rounds every day? Raise your, well, I'll go down by percentage, and you can raise your hand when you estimate how many. These are, of all the initiated devotees, there must be a few 100,000, right? Maybe? Okay, we'll say 150,000. Well, let's keep it simple. 100,000. Of 100,000 devotees, who thinks 100% are chanting 16 rounds? Raise your hand. Who thinks 90%? Raise your hand. Who thinks 80%? Who thinks 70%? No one's done a survey. The gurus estimate 70%. I think that's high, actually. 60%, 50%, 40%, 30%. We don't really know, right? Why can't everyone do it? 100% of the time. Of those initiates, how many of them eat prasadam 100% every day without fail? Would you say 100%? How many of them rest every day? At least 5, 6, 7 hours. Would you say 100%? Yeah. How many of them look at their phone every day? 108%, right? Multiple times. Yeah. We do things because we like to do them. So, if we do not chant properly, we won't properly enter into the taste. And if we don't get that taste, we're going to be a statistic of one who started chanting 16 rounds who couldn't maintain it, because if you're not connected with the holy name, and you're only connected with the shadow, how can you exist on shadow pakoras? You can't. You won't be satisfied, yeah. So, this is, for me, this is a big concern, because when you try to apply yourself to chant properly, you're able to taste the special nectar and sweetness and connection with Krishna that is more valuable and sweeter than anything in the three worlds. That same maha-mantra that can put you to sleep, that can bore you, that can make you want to do something else, that causes your mind to go everywhere in distraction, that causes you in the middle of your japa to pick up your phone and do something exciting, that same maha-mantra that can bore you can give you the deepest nectar. And so it concerns me that so many devotees are getting bored by the maha-mantra and not getting the nectar that it gives. And it can give unlimited nectar. It can give so much nectar that you will feel that the nectar the holy name gives is so valuable. There's nothing in this world greater than this. There's nothing I could want greater than this. And you can be completely satisfied and blissful. Jai Jagannath. In the second verse of Shishashtakam, Mahaprabhu says, Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. You have invested all your energies, Nija Sarva Shaktis. That's another way of saying, Krishna, when I say your name, you are personally present with me. Is that amazing? Think about it. I mean, we take it for granted. Think about it. All you have to do is say Krishna, and He's there with you anywhere you go. Like, I travel a lot. I end up in the middle of somewhere in the world, in the middle of the night, or on a plane with hundreds of people I don't know, and just out of my comfort zone, out of my element. But I have this wherever I go, and this is my center, my North Star. So I just chant Hare Krishna, and I'm with Krishna, wherever I go. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna. Feel at home, I'm with Krishna. Is that amazing? That you can just say that name and He's there. Or you can say that name and have no experience of Krishna, only a shadow. Isn't that a travesty, a shame if that happens? So, one of the problems that I feel is kind of like what we call in America an urban legend, a rumor that's not true. There's something that's misunderstood. it's partially true, but it's understood not within context. There was a devotee who said to Prabhupada, "My mind wanders when I chant." And Prabhupada said, "There's no question of the mind. When you chant, you just chant with your tongue and you hear with your ear." You may have heard that before. So, if you're being instructed to chant, normally you're told, just chant and hear. Boss. If you hear Japa workshops, it's all about chant and hear. There's a problem. That can become very mechanical. All I have to do is chant and hear. Again, I'm chanting and hearing a mantra. I may not connect that mantra to Krishna. I may not chant with any kind of intention or prayer or feeling. So, you may have heard Prabhupada add to that later when he said, you should hear yourself chanting sincerely. How many of you, raise your hand if you've heard that before? You should hear yourself chanting, but how should you be chanting? You should be chanting sincerely. So like, maha-mantra is a meditation on Krishna in the form of sound, but it's also in the vocative, which means it's a prayer. Like Prabhupada has said, it's like a child crying for his mother. So the maha-mantra is a prayer to be under the shelter of Krishna, to be under the shelter of Radharani. It's a prayer to be completely free of the influence of Maya. So when Prabhupada says, hear yourself chanting sincerely, you hear yourself chanting the name, and that name is Krishna. You realize Krishna's presence, and you call out to Krishna with devotion. So, one time, Prabhupada said, when you say Hare Krishna, Krishna comes to you and he asks you, what do you want? Just like if I call, Leela Rani, she'll say, yes, what? What, you need something? Daya Sagara, yes, you need something. I call your name, I ask you, hey, Krishnadas. Hey, Krishnadas. Yes, what do you want? So Prabhupada said, you're calling Krishna. Hare Krishna. And Krishna says, yes, you're calling me. What do you want? And what do you say? Oh, nothing. I'm just chanting my rounds. Is that what you say? Oh, nothing. I'm just trying to get my rounds done. You can believe Krishna. It's okay. I don't want to bother you. He said, so Prabhupada is telling us that the maha-mantra is a prayer. So it's not a mechanical process. You just chant and hear, but you chant and hear yourself praying sincerely, asking Krishna, for what? What are we doing when we're chanting? That 2 hours that we're chanting, what's going on in our heart? What is supposed to go on in our heart and our mind and our consciousness? We're asking Krishna, please help me develop love for you. Please help me awaken my love. Or please help me reciprocate with the love you're giving me. You give me so much love and I give you nothing. You give me everything, I give you nothing back. You give me everything, I give you headaches. I give you problems. Please help me reciprocate and help me love you, right? That's the prayer. That's why we chant. We don't chant to get our rounds done. And in fact, if you think about 16 rounds or whatever number you chant, 16 rounds will take about 2 hours. So Prabhupada asked us to chant 16 rounds. But a better way of looking at it is Prabhupada asked us to spend 2 hours chanting Krishna's name. It's not a number. It's time spent with Krishna. If you look at it as a number, again it becomes ritualistic. What actually is it? 16 rounds is 2 hours with Krishna. Spend 2 hours with Krishna every day. Now, we have an interesting experience, all of us. Have you ever sat down to chant, and as soon as you started chanting, your mind went somewhere? Somewhere other than the lotus feet of the holy name. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? It's a japa meditation on Krishna. It's supposed to be, but it's a meditation. It can be a meditation on everything other than Krishna. That's weird, don't you think? I'm chanting Krishna's name, Radha's name, Balaram's name, Radha Raman's name. And I'm not thinking of Krishna and Radha. I'm thinking of everything but Krishna and Radha. So, I have a little mantra. It's kind of funny, but it's sad. We are personalists until we start chanting Japa. And at that time we become impersonalists, because instead of thinking about Krishna, we think about everything but Krishna. You know, sometimes devotees say, how could I ever turn my back on Krishna? We're doing it all the time. Why can't you understand that? What's so difficult? If I were with Krishna, how could I turn my back? Yeah, you're chanting Japa and you're thinking of something else. You're chanting Japa, Krishna's there, and you've got your back to him. Like, you know, it's not difficult to understand, is it? So I think one of the best things I can offer you is a little contemplation on why we should appreciate the holy name. What the holy name is, with the intention of creating a consciousness with which we can be fixed in our chanting. So, how do we appreciate the holy name? Number one, Krishna comes in his holy name. So as I said, he's present there whenever we ask him to come. He's there fully, 100%. It doesn't require any previous qualification, doesn't require any initiation, doesn't require anything, and we can chant. And it doesn't require that you've taken a bath. It doesn't require it has to be at Brahma Muhurta or at sunrise or noon or sunset. You don't have to know Sanskrit. It doesn't require anything. It just requires you say Hare Krishna, and he comes to you, to me, to anybody. Is that amazing? And not only does he come, he comes personally in the highest form of Shama Sundar. And not only does he come in his form of Shama Sundar, but Mahaprabhu has empowered with the holy name, with the potency to deliver the highest prema that any living entity could possibly hope to get. The same prema that the residents of Vrindavan have. Are we qualified for that? Raise your hand if you think you're qualified for the prema of the Brajbasis. And Mahaprabhu is giving it. And what in this world could be greater than prema? Nothing. And then what do we do? What do we do? He's giving prema, the highest thing, to the most unqualified. We can develop love of Krishna. And what do we do with it? That's what we do with it. Throw it away. Don't even care. Do you think something's wrong with that? Of course. When we do that, ever chanted like that? Can I have your phone? Let me ask you if you've ever chanted like this before. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, anyone ever done that? And you're wondering why you have no taste? Wonder no further. Wonder no longer. It should be clear. When we're doing this, what is actually happening is our appreciation for the holy name on a scale of 0 to 100 is at like 0.01 or 0.0001 or 0.000000000001, isn't it? And when we're chanting properly and relishing, and we're there with Krishna, we're not traveling the universe, we're hearing and we're experiencing Krishna in His name, at least trying to. That's because we're appreciating. That's our appreciation is high when that happens. So simply by increasing your appreciation that Krishna is in His name, that He's come to us, that He's willing to be with us, He's willing to purify us, He's willing to give us love of God in His name. Simply by increasing that, automatically the quality of your rounds, they'll have to get better, guaranteed. And therefore you can consider this, that when you're not chanting well, it means your appreciation is low. When you're chanting well, it means your appreciation is high. Does that make sense to you? Does that correspond to your experience? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yeah. So I will offer you a mantra to increase your appreciation. Before you begin chanting, you can say this mantra. Thank you, Krishna, for coming to me in your holy name. That mantra can make a huge difference. Because if you don't chant that mantra, I guarantee you, many of you are chanting another mantra and you may not even realize you're chanting this mantra, but you are, and the mantra goes like this. Oh no, 16 rounds again. That's going on subconsciously. And I'd like you to think about that tomorrow morning when you pick up your bead bag, if you actually feel that way. Or maybe the mantra goes something like this. You ever chanted that mantra before Japa? And if you haven't chanted it, have you ever felt like, without saying it, when you pick up your beads? Have you? If you think about it, you realize that often, yeah. That means appreciation is very low. And therefore, if we say, thank you, Krishna, for coming in your holy name. I'm so fortunate. I'm the most fortunate to have your holy name. It can change everything just by meditating on that before you chant. Because now, when you meditate on this, it is not a theory. This is something, if you want to experience the benefit of this meditation, this is something you try to feel, you don't say. It's easy to say something. It's easy to understand something. It's different than feeling it, right? I can understand what it means to be humble. Doesn't mean I feel humble, right? I can understand what is separation from Krishna. I can read about it. Doesn't mean I feel it. So appreciation actually is not meant to be understood with your head. Appreciation is emotion which you feel. So if you allow yourself to feel appreciation for the holy name, it's going to make a difference in your chanting. Because you will feel fortunate to have the holy name. You will feel fortunate to be able to chant. You'll feel fortunate to be with Krishna. You'll feel fortunate to have the opportunity to open your heart to Krishna. Oh Krishna, please help me. Please accept me. Please engage me in your service. Please uplift me. Please purify me. Wouldn't it be nice if every morning Krishna came to your house and he said, I'm just going to sit here and we can have a conversation, you can ask me anything you want. You can ask for anything you want. And he came every day. In 2 hours you could say, Krishna, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? What do you think? Would that be good? Well, that's actually what's happening if you're conscious. Because if you're conscious, you can open yourself to ask Krishna for help and be open to feel that reciprocation every day. It's so special. Like, why wouldn't you want to do that? Why wouldn't you look forward to it? Here's another interesting thing to think about. A lot of devotees have difficulty getting up early in the morning. What if you don't like japa, and japa is the first thing you do in the morning? You think you'd have difficulty getting up early? You think you'd have difficulty getting out of bed after the alarm goes off? Of course. Why? Because you're going to get up to do something you don't want to do. What if we turn that around? What if japa were your most favorite activity? Don't you think you'd want to get up early? Because that's the time you relish chanting the most. And chanting is so important for you, and it's so sweet, and you want to be up early to maximize the quality of your japa. Don't you think you'd pop up early in the morning, kind of naturally? You would. It's interesting, isn't it? So to me, I can't think of any worse curse in the universe. Like Lochan Das Thakur said, I must be cursed by Yamaraj because I don't have a taste for chanting. So it's like, what could be worse for a Hare Krishna devotee to not like to chant Hare Krishna? I can't think of anything. It's about as bad as it gets, right? And who is creating that problem for us? We are. And who can solve that problem? We can. So, of course, we're going to do a retreat this weekend. You're all invited if you want to come. But I just want to offer this tonight, this idea of appreciation and thinking about what you appreciate about the holy name before you chant, and then just saying out loud, thank you, Krishna. I am so fortunate to have your name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If you actually imbibe appreciation, it's going to be hard to stop chanting. You'll have to call in sick at the office. You're like, oh no, I can't stop now. I don't want to stop and get ready for work. It's true. That's a good problem to have. The other thing, there's one other thing I want to mention that I think is important, significant. See this button? It says, when I chant, I chant. So, as I was mentioning, a lot of times when we chant, as soon as we touch our beats, it's like a signal to the mind. Okay, mind, it's time to travel. You know, it's like, and the mind starts going. Right? And this is the biggest complaint that devotees have most consistently wherever I go in the world. I can't control my mind when I chant. And I'll explain why. We can't control our mind because we haven't disengaged it. We've kept it engaged. So what do I mean by that? When it's time to chant, a devotee who disengages their mind will now engage their mind only in japa. And engaging the mind in japa means engaging the heart. Where's my heart? My heart is there with the holy name, with the practice, with my intention. I have divorced or disconnected myself from everything other than Krishna. Everything in my life, it's like I don't have a life right now. It's like all I have is the holy name and my japa beads and myself. That's all I have. That's what's required to chant properly. And if you do that, you will never say, I have trouble with my mind, because your mind has no function other than to hear and chant. I mean, yeah, your mind has no function other than to hear. But because the mind's going all everywhere, it's because we've given it permission. Okay, we're going to chant Hare Krishna, but just keep doing what you always do. That's basically what we're telling our mind. If you tell your mind we're chanting Hare Krishna and that's all we're doing, then you unplug from everything else in your life. It's like you shouldn't have a life. In the morning, you should not have a life. You should only have japa, that's all. When I chant, I chant. So I have a little practice for you. You can take this home. It's interesting. Now, I lived as a brahmachari for many years. Even as a grihastha, I lived in the temple for many years. And so in the temple, in the morning, if you're not on the altar, then all you're doing is after Tulsi Puja, Mangalarti, and Tulsi Puja, you're just chanting. Everybody's chanting. We're not given any seva generally. Few devotees have seva. The rest of us just chant. So it's very easy to chant, right? Isn't it? I mean, of course in China you don't have temples, right? So I came up with this idea. See if you like it. Become a morning monk. Become a morning monk. I'll explain. We should all be morning monks. I was giving a workshop, and except for a few devotees, everyone in the workshop was not living in the temple. And I thought, as I often do, we have a problem here because we just spent 2 days learning how to improve japa. But then if you go back home and you don't make space for it in the morning and just turn your life off and just tune in and turn on to japa, then you can't apply everything you learn because you end up being distracted by your life. Right? Life's distracting, isn't it? Life happens. Yes? So then I thought, okay, the only way this is going to work is we all have to live like these brahmacharis living in the temple. That's how we have to live in the morning before we do anything. So when you wake up in the morning, the first thought is, I'm a morning monk. And you should have a monk suit. Whatever, you should have your monk suit. It's like when you wear, you put on your kurta or your sari or something, and when you put it on, you're like, I'm a monk now. So monk means sadhana in the morning, nothing else. Because you have a house, and you can do everything you want but sadhana, right? Because there's a million things to do. So I'm going to be a morning monk, and I'm going to do what a monk does in the morning, which is just sadhana, and I'm going to put on my monk suit, my monk shirt, whatever it is, to remind me, and I'm just going to do sadhana, specifically japa. So I think that's what we need to do. And when you're the monk, that means there's nothing else. So everything else in your life is put on pause. I'm a monk now. Till 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whenever it is, that I have to get ready for the world. Before that, I'm a monk. As a monk, I just chant, japa, I study Bhagavatam, I listen to lectures. That's what I do. And if you do that, and you go deeply into appreciation to just those two things, you disengage from your life early in the morning like a monk. You sit down with the holy name and appreciate and say, thank you, Krishna, for coming to me in this holy name. And you chant, and you hear yourself chant sincerely. You're praying, you're asking Krishna for help. Immediately you will notice a huge difference in your japa, and therefore a huge difference in your Krishna consciousness. There's so many more things we can do, but after teaching japa for 20 years, I realized that all bad japa is a symptom of no appreciation. That's where it comes from. And no appreciation, then it leads into I have to, and I don't want to, but I have to. And that's why so many devotees who made vows to chant 16 rounds are not doing it, because they're on the I have to platform. And it's really difficult to do something that you have to do your whole life if you don't like it. It's easier not to do it. And then that nectar of the holy name, you know that nectar of the holy name, you read about it in the Shastra? Do you want to spend your life reading about it, or do you want to spend your life feeling it? The choice is up to us, because, you know, you ever read those verses and you're like, I've never seen this before, I don't know what it is, I just read about it. And you'll read all these verses about the holy name, and then you'll make the 5th or 6th offense and think, no, this is exaggeration, it's just advertising. Just want to get me to chant, but it never happens. It's like when Mahaprabhu was exhibiting ecstasy, his guru said, oh my God, we've never seen anyone with this ecstasy. We only read about it in the books. So, do you want to just read about it, or do you want to experience it? And if you want to experience it, you have to work towards it. You have to be a morning monk. You have to detach. You have to really not be a ritualistic chanter. You can't approach the holy name as a ritual. You have to approach it as Krishna. You have to allow yourself to feel Him and be with Him and open your heart to Him. Then you'll have amazing experiences with the holy name. And you will not be able to chant 16. You'll have to chant more than 16. Prabhu, I can't chant 16. What's wrong? What's wrong? Oh, I can't stop at 16. I have to chant more. That'll be the problem. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say tonight. And if you have any questions, then we can take time now for your questions. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear Guru. Thank you so much for your teaching, and it's my great pleasure to be here. I have some quick questions about my chanting. When I chant, I find it's natural and easy to quiet my mind. At the very beginning, there is a witness, seeing and observing all the thoughts coming and going. But later on, it seems that the witness also dissolves. In that kind of state, there is no personal I chanting, and there is no personal I witnessing the thoughts coming up, going, disappear. It seems there is very few thoughts, and it's like joy without cause. But the moment
it's like what?
Joy. It's like joy happens with no reasons. But the moment there is a thought, like, wow, what a wonderful experience, I was out of that state. So my question is, the first one is, what is that state? Am I on the right path of chanting? My second question is, when I was in that state, there is no personal I, chanting, thinking, or putting his or her mind on Krishna. So my second question is, what is that state to do with the Lord? And the third question is, as you mentioned, that chanting 16 rounds is like spending 2 hours with Krishna. So my question is, can I say that 2 hours with the holy name equals 16 rounds? Because when I was in that state, the sense of time becomes quite funny. There is no personal I there. I know there is no one counting around. But it's not a sleepy state. It's fully alert. It seems that nothing there, but it also seems everything is there. Thank you so much.
So, you have a relationship with Krishna. In order for you to experience that relationship, there has to be an I. Otherwise, who is Krishna having a relationship if there's no I? So we don't try to get rid of the I, because the I is who we are. We just try to realize the pure I. And the pure I is I am servant of Krishna. So you're there, the holy name is there, and there's a relationship between you and the holy name. So So we're not trying to get rid of the I, because you can't, because you eternally exist as an I.
It's not like I'm trying to. It's just that it happens. So it's not like I'm trying to do that. It naturally happens, and I found I'm really eager to.
But if you are, you see, the holy name means Krishna. Please engage me in your service. Please purify me. Please uplift me. Please accept me. Please engage me. Please help me love you. It means all those things. So if there's no I, how can you pray?
I just don't know. I found when I'm out of that state, I feel very attached, eager to get back. And only when I'm out of that state, I feel extremely grateful, also for no reason.
Yeah, we shouldn't. I would say, one of the things that we want to do when we're chanting is be intentional. Like, why am I chanting? And what does the maha-mantra mean? Otherwise, it's kind of like an ignorance. I'm just chanting, but I have no connection with it. So we want to hear, but we want to be connected with what it means, and we want to be connected with an intention, which is to become purified, come closer to Krishna and develop love of Krishna. How can we do that unless we're expressing Krishna, I want blank. I want pure devotional service. I want to love you, I want to serve you. So that's proper, that would be the proper way. And losing the sense of I means that you've lost the connection, the personal connection. So it's not the goal. It's not the goal to lose our identity. It's the goal to reaffirm my identity as a servant. And pray for that identity to be purified. And pray for service. You see, also, when we chant, we're chanting in the mood of a servant. We're not chanting in the mood of an enjoyer. So we're not chanting to experience something. We're chanting to awaken our desire for service or the purity of our consciousness. So we're coming to the chanting in the mood of I'm servant and asking for service. Not in the mood of I'm chanting for myself to enjoy it or feel peaceful. That puts us in the center, where we're chanting to put Krishna in the center. Does that make sense? We are servants of God. We're not the center of the universe. He is. So to be the center of the universe means I would meditate or chant to experience something for myself. But in bhakti, we're chanting to offer service to Krishna. That put him in the center, not me. So conditioned life means I'm in the center. My enjoyment, my peace, my happiness is everything. As a devotee, Krishna's enjoyment, Krishna's happiness is everything, and that we're praying to be servants of that. Anyway, think about it. Meditate on it. And try to practice that when you chant. Like praying for service. In terms of the number, in one sense you could say it's okay to chant for 2 hours, but our tradition is to take a vow to chant a certain number of rounds. And the only way we know is that we count them. And so that becomes our vow. I will chant so many mantras. And maybe you will chant those mantras in 2 hours, but to have the beads that guarantees I've kept my vow to chant a certain number. That's why We chant on beads and we don't substitute it with a certain amount of time. My point was that that number translates into time with Krishna. Otherwise, it can just be a number, and then I think I'm successful, I got the number, and I kind of disconnected from Krishna. I didn't even realize that's who I was connected with that time. Is that all right? You're welcome. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, may I ask 2 questions?
Of course. You can ask 3.
I'm a little confused. There's some devotee tell me, they are teaching me that can use clicker while for chanting.
Can you what?
Clicker.
Oh, clicker.
For chanting. Some say cannot use clicker for chanting, but must use this.
Mm-hmm.
So can we actually use clicker?
If you live in China, you can use a clicker because you might get in trouble with the bead bag, right? In the Shastra, it says to use beads, like Tulsi beads. Sometimes Hari Bhakti Vilas says to use beads made of jewels. Sometimes it says you can tie cloth and make knots. Yeah, so, we like to touch Tulsi, it's purifying. But if you're in a situation where you can't, then you do what you have to do. It's not recommended, but if you have to do it, then do it.
Usually using clicker will be when traveling long distance, when driving 4, 5 hours, 6 hours, and the whole day will be driving. So clicker, can we actually drive and chant?
You can drive and chant as long as you don't count them as your 16 rounds. Okay, I have a question for you. Do you have deities? You have deities?
Yeah, but not what installed deities.
Okay. Would you put your deities in your car and do arti while you're driving?
No.
Yeah, so the holy name is a deity. We wouldn't do that because we couldn't pay attention. So we have to give our attention to the holy name. If we're giving our attention to driving, then when I chant, I chant. When I drive, I drive. When I read, I read. When I exercise, I exercise. When I talk, I talk. When I hear, I hear. When I cook, I cook. When I scream, I scream. When I eat ice cream, I eat ice cream. And when I chant, I chant. That's ideal. If let's say you're driving all day from 3 a.m., you have to chant while you're driving, because if you don't, then there's no time. But otherwise, if you wouldn't worship your deities while driving, the holy name's a deity. Jiva Goswami says it's a it's a murti. The holy name's a murti. That's the way. That's ideal. Yeah. Next question.
And Maharaj, usually when I chant, especially when I can concentrate, I find that I become more energetic.
Good.
Right. Then, in my mind will be saying that, okay, good, that I can use this chanting to make myself energetic. So, okay, I feel tired, then I do the chanting.
Oh, yeah.
Then, like making use of the maha-mantra. Then I think Lord Shiva people is, saying the Hare Krishna people no good because he's using maha-mantra to do something.
Well, if you use that energy for service, then that's good. If you use the energy for Maya, then it's not good. So, I mean, in theory, you should be getting spiritual energy from chanting, which you use in service. Yeah. So, you know, if I'm using the holy name for my own sense gratification, that's different. I like to chant because I feel good. Yeah, but it's not the goal of chanting to feel good. The goal of chanting is to love Krishna. So if whatever I'm getting from chanting I'm employing in Krishna's service, that's good. Nothing is bad if it's used for Krishna. Sometimes I chant and pray to Krishna to give me empowerment to do service, to do better service. More intelligence or more whatever I need. So I'm praying, but it's all for Him. So you're like, I'm getting energy, that's good, I can use it for Krishna. Why not?
So Maharaj, is normal that when we chant, we get more energetic? Is it normal?
Some people go to sleep. It's good if you get more energy.
But sometimes also I go to sleep.
If you chant well, you would get more energy, for sure. Yes. That's a sign of good chanting, for sure. For me, it's very painful to see devotees chanting and just getting bored. Because it's like they're eating the candy, but they can't taste it. And I've tasted it, and I feel bad they're not tasting it. So the candy's there for all of us to taste.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. If you are not initiated, can you chant on Tulsi beads?
Yes.
Second question is, if you are not vegetarian, can you wear Tulsi mala?
If you're not,
Vegetarian, can you
if you're not vegetarian, can you wear tulsi?
mala?
Some say yes, some say no. I don't have any shastra.
The logic is, even non-vegetarian people, they have tulsi, like Hindus, have tulsi plant and they water it and they pray to it.
Yeah.
So some people say cannot wear, but then non-vegetarian
it's Mahaprabhu's. It's the yuga of Mahaprabhu, and he's unlimitedly merciful. You know, if you follow Prabhupada's example, we know the story. Shyam Sundar was carving Jagannath, and you know the story. And he was carving Jagannath, and Prabhupada went to see him, and he was smoking. And there was a pack of cigarettes on top of Jagannath. And Prabhupada came in with his cane and said, "What's this?" So we can be merciful. And you can encourage people. If you're going to take care of Tulsi, then you should.
Yeah, but I have also seen that some people, when they wear Tulsi, after even they are not vegetarian, they start feeling guilty and they became vegetarian.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. You can be like Narada Muni and tell them all these animals are going to come back and eat you alive in your next life. People do not like to suffer, and if people understand they're going to suffer for their sinful activities, often they'll stop. Yes?
Sorry, Krishna Prabhu. On chanting, we look forward to it, or we have like an appointment with Krishna
Yeah,
presence of Krishna. The question is, within the 2 hours, if we don't make 16 rounds, let's say we make 10 or 12,
yeah.
is that, is there something wrong with that, or is that something normal? I mean, it's just like saying that...
Like within 2 hours you only chant 12 rounds?
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Yeah, that's the question.
No, because I could only say it's good or bad based on the quality, not based on the speed. Better 12 good rounds than 16 bad. But of course, if you vowed to chant 16, you have to. So, it's not about speed, it's about quality. Of course. There's one devotee, he chanted 16 rounds in 16 hours. No, maybe 14 hours. 12 to 14 hours it took him. And Prabhupada let him live in the temple. Then he got better. But the chanting is so purifying that somehow or other, however we get our rounds done, it's going to work on us. Yeah. In answer to your question, you could say, well, maybe we shouldn't let people who eat meat chant because the holy name is pure and it's vibrating in their throat and in their heart and their body's all full of meat, so they shouldn't chant. And Prabhupada before he came to America was thinking, Americans are not vegetarians and maybe we'll have to serve meat. And he said, if we have to serve meat, we will. If that's what we have to do to get them to chant, to come to be with us, then we'll do that. And when they chant, they'll give up their meat. So that's Mahaprabhu's mood. Yes, who has the mic? Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for the rounds.
You're welcome.
It was always my desire to hear about Japa directly from you. And so it's really, thank you so much. I was thinking that being inattentive, as I mentioned in the class, is because I don't appreciate the holy name. I was also thinking that is it also because that I don't understand or I don't realize that there is no difference between form name and the form.
Yeah.
Because when I do deity worship, I can be attentive 2 hours.
Yes.
I can be attentive because I see the Lord.
Yes.
So how can I improve on that?
I can tell you what I do. If I'm not deeply connected and I'm just hearing the name and not having any realization that it's Krishna, I just stop and remind myself that this is Krishna, this is you, the deity of your holy name and sound, as much as there is a deity in wood, stone or metal. And I just remind myself and allow myself to experience Krishna's presence as far as possible. And I find that it works. It's like when you do the deity worship, you have to, in some sense, remind yourself this is Krishna, otherwise you'll stick pins in it. You'll dress him and stick. It's just marble, just pin it, he doesn't feel anything. Right? Then you would deal with it like stone. So you do have to remind yourself, to some degree, don't you? This is Krishna. And however you're dealing with the deity, you deal with it as a person. So you have to remind yourself. In the same way, you remind yourself that Krishna is there in his name. That's what I do. Try it and see. And then by doing that, you might just click into realization mode. And you just start experiencing this is Krishna. Sometimes I think about Dhruva Maharaj when I'm chanting. He had the whole universal air when he was breathing, because he was meditating on Krishna. So sometimes when I'm chanting Japa, I think, oh, I'm connected with Krishna, who's, connected with the universe. I'm like very powerful right now. And sometimes I think Krishna's here, so he's here, now I could ask him for something. This is good. Krishna's here, it's time to ask. Okay, Krishna, this is what I need, let's make a deal. So, I think by trying to do that, more realization will come. Prabhupada interestingly said, intellectually you'll never be able to understand that Krishna's in his name because it doesn't make sense. Because we don't have experience of sound representing, not sound representing, but sound being that object. So intellectually, if you try to understand it doesn't work, it's better you just accept this is Krishna here. And let me allow myself to just appreciate it, that he's here with me right now. And I can take full shelter of his name and be with him. And if we can have that realization, then I think we can leave this world in perfect consciousness, because we'll realize I'm with Krishna. Through all the difficulties in life you go through, if you take shelter of the holy name, then at the time of death you'll be so practiced in taking shelter, it'll be easy. If you feel, there's danger and you take shelter and you feel Krishna's presence, and that becomes something that's so normal and natural for you, and then at the time of death, that's what you do. And you'll just be doing what you've always done, taking shelter and feeling Krishna. Wouldn't that be nice? A lot of times I think, if I get good at chanting, then I'll be in a perfect position to leave my body, because I'm so used to taking full shelter in the holy name, and I'm really going to need shelter when I'm leaving my body. And if I practice taking shelter year after year after year on a daily basis, then it would be quite easy and natural. Because that's what, whenever there's danger, I've always taken shelter. And Krishna says he's in his name. So we have faith. Yes? And if you don't have faith, have faith.
Right. Anyone I need to ask a question?
What if I don't have faith? Well, then have it. Hare Krishna.
Books now, you want to say something?
Yes. Well, I want to show you something beautiful. We have a book called Japa Affirmations. It's up here. And then we made, for every affirmation, we made cards. We don't have the cards here, but we made posters. And it has all the affirmations on them. You can hang them. It's 20 affirmations. I really like this. I don't have that many. You can get them before we go to Penang, if you like. That's 10 US. I don't know how to translate it into your money. Okay. And then we have some other books, and we have Japa affirmation books, which are really helpful for putting you in the right mood to chant. We have a book called Self-Care Affirmations. We have a book called Living the Wisdom of Bhakti in Chinese. We have a book called Uplift Yourself, Change the World in English and Chinese, if you need Chinese. And you can, this young man here, he'll help you. Or somebody, Leela Rani will help. If you like, I can sign. And we're leaving tomorrow, so this will be your last chance to get the books. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mahatma Prabhu. So wonderful realization of the holy name. So after